College football playoff best bets. In this video, we go through the big four college football playoff games this week, give you our favorite picks in every single one of them. As always, it's Austin joined by Logan. Hey, we're going to dive into these picks in just one moment. Logan, I hope you're doing well. We have one Friday game and then three on Saturday. So depending on when you're watching this, you can definitely jump forward into other games that you might be interested in. But Logan, first we need to recap how we did a few weeks ago. Now, I went 4-1. I am on a 32-9 run since I put on this trusty polo, and you better believe it's back for more. Now, we don't need to address what happened last week for you. What is most important, though, 17-10 run for you. So, hey, you look at it from a long-term perspective, the last few weeks you've been dialed in. Hopefully, you can deliver some winners for the first edition of this new playoff system. And without even diving in, let's just go into the games, and we'll start with the first one on Friday. Like I said, if you're watching this on Saturday, you certainly can jump forward. Hopefully, Logan and I look like geniuses. But the first one is Indiana taking on Notre Dame. Obviously, this first round, the higher seed is going to host these games. So this is in South Bend in Notre Dame. Right now, you're seeing the Fighting Irish getting about 7.5 points, Logan. What's the move in this game? What are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and lay the points with the home team. You know, I don't see every favorite winning convincingly in the matchups this weekend, but I do think Notre Dame is just a tier above Indiana. No disrespect to Indiana and Coach Cignetti. They've had an absolutely great season, but they really ran into issues when they played elite opponents. And the one that comes to mind is obviously that Ohio State game. You know, when they faced a real defense in Ohio State, just 151 total yards, 68 passing yards. They were extremely sloppy in that game, and it didn't work against Ohio State, and I really don't think that level of precision was going to work against Notre Dame as well, because there is equally, if not better, than that Ohio State defense, which they saw. Notre Dame's just allowing 14 points per game. That's third in the country. Passing defense is amazing as well. They're third in the country, giving it just 157 yards per game. Indiana really hasn't faced also a team that ranks near the top 25 in rushing, which Notre Dame is very good up front. They win the line of scrimmage, offensive and defensive line. They normally win the line of scrimmage. Notre Dame's 10th in rushing yards per game. I just don't really see Indiana having a way to contain Jeremiah Love. And when you're not able to stop Jeremiah Love, that's going to put Riley Leonard in comfortable situations. And that's kind of when I'll fade Notre Dame is when I find a defense that can make him uncomfortable, that stops Jeremiah Love and forces Riley Leonard to be an elite passer, which I don't know that he is yet. I don't think Indiana's that defense. And when I factor in all that and the fact that Notre Dame is at home, I understand geographically Indiana is not that far from Notre Dame, but still, I'll take the Fighting Irish and I'll lay the points with them.
Yeah, personally, I don't really see a big edge on either spread. I'll be rooting for Indiana. I think it'd be cool to see them obviously go in there and win. I don't think they do. I would lean Notre Dame, I guess, if I had to. If there's a gun in my head, Austin, pick one side. I'd pick Notre Dame -7 like you are. But I actually have a better play here, and hopefully this one smacks. It's the first half under at 26.5. I don't like taking full game unders, really. I feel like those are cursed in college football. You could have 0 points in the first half. Next thing you know, there's 28 points scored in the third quarter. You go into overtime, all this stuff, and then you're just cooked. So first half under, we've talked about this. This can be a playoff atmosphere. These teams are going to be amped up, and the crowd will be in this game. So I could see maybe some early jitters, maybe some false starts, some things like that. I mean, I was listening to Kurt Cignetti on the Pat McAfee show. He said they went to the silent count in that game against Ohio State. And he said he's never doing that again because it was that big of a disaster. So look, if they couldn't handle the crowd noise there, we know Notre Dame's going to be bouncing. I just think this is a slower game out of the gates. Always Friday games are a little bit weird. Obviously, these teams have had extended rest, though. I just think it's slow out the gates. And 26.5, it's not easy to get there. I mean, you talked about Notre Dame's defense, allowing just 14 points per game. And I think Indiana's defense can do enough. They've been prepared for this Notre Dame offense that hasn't really shown a lot of passing capability. So I think this is slower out the gates. I think we see them make adjustments in the second half. Maybe that's where the points are scored. So I like the first half under 26.5. Hopefully Logan and I just went 2-0 heading into Saturday's slate of games. And we'll start at Penn State. I believe it is a whiteout, if I'm not mistaken. Early start, though, 12 p.m. Eastern. Penn State's getting 8.5. They're favored by 8.5, 54.5. I have a feeling, Logan, we're going to be on opposite sides because I will be on the SMU Mustangs plus 8.5. I've faded Penn State plenty of times this year in big games. And look, this is a big game. It's the first time James Franklin's in the playoff. Drew Aller, he just said he's coming back for a fifth season. I feel like this is one they lose. And I think Penn State fans are going to be like, Drew Aller, we don't want you back for this season. He's like, sorry, already committed. I'm already back. I'm not bought in on Penn State. They only can run the football. If you can make Drew Aller a passer, I think you're going to be in a tough spot. SMU's defensive line's been pretty good this season. Obviously, tough task here. Coming off a loss, though, at Clemson. Well, not at Clemson, but, in Charlotte for that ACC championship. I am not bought in on Penn State at all. I think there's one big favorite to lose. I think it's them. Early game. We've talked about these early games, man. You don't get the crowd as engaged as normal. Even though it's a playoff game, those 7 p.m. kickoffs are tougher than a 12 p.m. when you can't get the crowd as riled up. I love the SMU Mustangs. I might even sprinkle on the money line. But Logan, what do you like in this game?
Yeah, I mean, you've already hinted at it. I'm on the other side, and honestly, I have no problem taking Penn State. I hear your points. I'd like to see Franklin win a big game. That program is in desperate need of it. If he does not win this one convincingly, but what I do know is that if Penn State is winning, they will cover because he likes to run up the score. SMU, if I'm reading this game correctly, I think Penn State wins by 10 or more, and this is not a 7-point game. I do think Penn State is just a lot better team on both sides of the ball. Really, it kind of starts with what SMU struggled with in that ACC championship. Yes, they came back against Clemson, made the box score look a little bit closer, but I was on the ponies in that one. I really liked them. I was gung-ho. And then they just made Cade Klubnik look like a Heisman contender. And I just couldn't have that because Cade Klubnik in that offense is, to me, very similar to Drew Aller. Drew Aller with Tyler Warren. Look, they're not going to ask Aller to go out and throw for 300 yards. They're not going to do that. And if he is throwing for 300 yards, I don't know what kind of wacky game this turned into, but Tyler Warren is unguardable. He's the biggest matchup nightmare in the country, 10 touchdowns on the season. Penn State also, offensive and defensive line. Look at SMU's offense, 27th in passing, 50th in rushing yards. By comparison, Penn State can really shut that down. Defensively, 15th in passing yards allowed, 11th in rushing yards allowed. And I understand that Penn State plays in the Big Ten. It's a different brand of football. I don't really think SMU on the road is going to translate to that. It's going to be cold. We know that. It's always cold in Happy Valley. And I think this SMU team is going to get a little bit shell-shocked coming out in that whiteout atmosphere. I don't care that it's early. They're still going to be jazzed. Those college kids will still have enough beverages in their system. And SMU also 89th in the nation in passing yards allowed. I don't care how elite Drew Aller is. He's still going to be able to sling it on this SMU defense. I have no doubt about that. Give me Penn State. I'll lay the points.
Hey, that's gonna be a tight game. I think it's gonna be an interesting one. But hey, I'm glad we're on the opposite sides. I faded you a lot last week, so maybe you do a couple winners fading me. But I don't know. I've been red hot. The kids are saying I might be a college football guru, so I'd be careful, Logan. You can still switch your pick at the end of the video if you want to. Next game, we go to Clemson, who obviously beat SMU to sneak into the this playoff going up against Texas. Texas coming off that ugly loss against Georgia, missed some field goals and things like that in the SEC championship. But Texas laying a huge number, minus 12.5 here, over under at 51.5. I think Clemson feels like they're probably playing with a little bit of house money right now, given they probably shouldn't have been in this 3 weeks ago. But hey, either way, they're here, and they have as good of a chance as anyone else. Logan, what's the move in this game? Are you buying the points with Clemson? You think this is a tighter game? Or you think Texas wins in a blowout?
Yeah, I'll take the points with Clemson. I think this is a one possession type game. However you want to slice it. This is not Dabo's most talented Clemson team. That's why they're getting line disrespect, in my opinion. Look at Dabo though. What do we know about him? He's a postseason. He's a postseason guru. I mean, 21-7 in postseason games. He knows how to win the big games. He knows how to field competitive teams, and he will have these boys ready to play at Texas. I mean, they're coming into this game in good form as well. That's what we like to see. They beat SMU, a good SMU team in that ACC championship. They look pretty good doing it. As I mentioned, Cade Klubnik looked amazing in that game. That's what I want to see out of that Clemson offense because they're facing a very, very good Texas defense, right? Texas also, what I do know is that they sometimes let inferior opponents hang around. And I think if you're looking talent to talent, yes, Texas is the more talented team. That's why they're laying double digits. But there's a ton of value on a hungry team, and I think that's what we see with Clemson. Also, injury concerns. Quinn Ewers, 3 interceptions over his past 2 games. I don't really think he looks 100% healthy. It doesn't really take a genius to inform that take. I mean, everyone calling for Arch Manning in some sort of packages and whatever. I agree. Arch Manning looks better, especially using his legs. If Clemson's able to sort of contain Quinn Ewers, they might have a really good shot to win this game, win it outright. hard to look past that SEC championship game when, Georgia beat Texas with a backup quarterback as well. It really made me question how elite this Texas team really is. I think they are slightly overvalued in this spot. And with that, I'm going to take Clemson plus the points.
I'm not directly fading you, but I will be on Texas first half spread -6.5. I think they got to come out here and establish just something. They got to get out there and get out to an early lead. Now, I think Clemson, that kind of plays to their favor because I would argue they don't really have a great rushing attack. So you're going to need Klubnik to have a pretty good game to keep them in this one. But I think they're down 7 at least at halftime. I'm still not bought in on Dabo Swinney. I still don't think he's adapted to the college football changes. I feel like he's still stuck in the past. I saw they just got their first guy from the transfer portal since like 2018. So props to them. Maybe he's adapting finally. But I just am not bought in on this team. If they're not able to run, which, I mean, last week against SMU, they had their leading rusher at like 25 yards. I just don't know how they're going to rely on Klubnik to just throw it or sling it around. Sure, he could do it against SMU. I've said SMU's pass defense, not the best. But against Texas, one of the better pass defenses in the league, I could see Klubnik maybe making a mistake early. Maybe they make some adjustments at halftime. I just think they're at least down 7. They can obviously still cover your 12.5. The back door could always be open. They could be down 17 and Texas takes the foot off the gas and Clemson just swoops in. I don't love the full game at 12.5, but I think that they cover the first half or up by a touchdown. So I like Texas here. I don't think Clemson can win. I'm going to be honest, but hey, we've seen crazier things happen. So Dabo, I never want to count them out, but I think they're at least down 7 at halftime, which is why I like the Longhorns -6.5. And then our final game of the week, Logan. We don't have any props this week. We're just going to dive into Tennessee taking on Ohio State. Obviously, Ohio State has a sour taste in their mouth. That game against Michigan lost us 21-point favorites. Disgusting. They have some time to right their wrongs as they get Tennessee and Josh Heupel and Nico Iamaleava coming into town. Laying 7 points, though. Ohio State's got a 7-point lead, over under at 46.5. Do you like anything in the spread, or do you like a total in this one?
Yeah, so you guys know the rule. I don't pick totals unless I really like it, and I really do like this under. So I'll go ahead and take the under between these two teams. Let's talk about where they rank over the course of the season. We've seen these two teams, and I know it's a little bit square to have this philosophy, but I don't see points being easy in this one. Tennessee, 5th in points allowed, 16th in passing yards allowed, 8th in rushing yards allowed. Ohio State's defense, 1st in points allowed, 2nd in passing yards allowed, 7th in rushing yards. Ohio State has only allowed more than 2 touchdowns just 3 times this season. Obviously, they lost to that Michigan, but it wasn't really their defense. Their defense kept them in that game. Their offense just couldn't do jack anything. So what do we know about this matchup against Tennessee? We know Tennessee has a great defensive line. You got pros all over it. You know, James Pierce Jr., he'll be playing on Sundays, Joshua Josephs. And this Ohio State offensive line has suffered injuries. There's a reason why Will Howard doesn't exactly look good back in the pocket. He's coming off his worst game of the season, just kind of throwing up prayer type balls. That's not going to really work against this Tennessee defense. The defensive front's going to make him very uncomfortable. And Nico Iamaleava, however you say his name, I don't really see him being very crisp in this game. I don't see him being able to just come out and light up this Ohio State secondary because they are a good secondary, and their defensive line themselves is 14th in the nation in sacks. So you really look at these two teams, I'd argue they're top 10-ish type defenses. Also, Ohio State, you like a little bit of trends? I like trends too. Ohio State is at the under in 5 of their last 6. Well, Tennessee has also hit the under in 4 of their last 5 games versus top 25 defenses. When these teams get when they get into the late game, I see a lot of chew clock, a lot of possession type football. Again, touchdowns hard to come by. I like the under, Austin.
Yeah, that over-under, I don't know, feels a little bit high, but also it's a college football game. You never know what you're getting. This is my least favorite game out of the ones we've already talked about. So if you wanted my picks in terms of confidence, all the other 3 I like a lot more than this one. I'm going to take the Buckeyes -7. I don't love it. Like I said, it's probably confidence 3 out of 10. But I think the Buckeyes here, they got to get Will Howard going. And I don't know if it's, hey, we're throwing it deep down the field. I don't think that's the recipe for success. But I think you see some early throws, get him some confidence, and if they're able to just get up in a lead and then force it to be a Nico Iamaleava game. And, he obviously doesn't have a lot of games under his belt. I lean Ohio State, but it's really this. I mean, I hope for the Buckeyes fans that this is at least 7-point win, and they can, because if this one's tight and they potentially even lose this one, Ryan Day is going to be in a bad spot for a lot of those Buckeyes fans. I hope for their sake that they come out strong, because if they come out here slow and they're potentially losing at halftime, I don't know that those fans are not going to be too happy in the shoe. So I lean Ohio State. If you had, what would you do spread wise? I know it's not going to be on your official record, but if you had to bet either spread, what would you do? This one feels like a real tough one to kind of handicap.
Yeah, if I had to pick a spread on this one, I would take Tennessee plus the points. I do not think Ohio State is as elite as people think. I think there's definitely some weakness exposed by Michigan. Look, I just think if Tennessee wants to win this game, they're absolutely going to have to punch Ohio State in the mouth, win the line of scrimmage. Again, I'm not necessarily saying anything groundbreaking, but if you just make Will Howard uncomfortable, he's shown the ability to really self-destruct in these spots. That would be more of a Will Howard fade than I am confident that Nico's able to get those explosive plays. But I've seen this. What I will say about the under and what could potentially kind of cook my under is Ohio State's DBs. They hold a lot, and if these refs get flag happy, there are going to be a lot of secondary penalties, pass interference, illegal contact, whatever. I could see Tennessee being able to move the ball like that if they're just kind of taking a few deep shots every now and then on this Ohio State secondary. So that's kind of how I see the game flow going in that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with you. I think this is going to be an interesting game. I could see it going either way. There could be an upset here. It could be Ohio State big victory. I really don't know. Like I said, this is probably the biggest coin flip game, in my opinion. So hopefully the Buckeyes can cover the -7 to wrap up my Saturday card. Logan, those are only games we're going to cover. We're not going to dive into any of the other bowl games. But how are you feeling? Is there any final thoughts before we sign out of here?
Well, Austin, as you mentioned, last week, I'm going to leave championship weekend in the past.
Yeah, those never count. Those don't count. Yeah, you can't count those anyways. Those
the great news is we have 4 games, beautiful 4-game slate. Hopefully these playoff games live up to the hype, because I'm really excited. Ever since they really talked about reformatting the college football playoffs, make these games. It's going to be so cool to have meaningful games played on the college campuses themselves, not in some neutral site game. I'm just really excited to see how we do.
Yeah, there should be a lot of good games. So we'll see. We'll obviously be back for next week when they have the next edition of playoff games. And hopefully Logan and I recapping some winning days for you all. So appreciate you guys. Let us know your favorite picks down below. If either of us, one of us goes 4-0, we'll do a $50 giveaway next week. So hey, all you got to do is go down below, like, comment. We appreciate you. Subscribe if you're new. And let's hope one of us goes 4-0, Logan. We both can't go 4-0, but one of us could. So hey, let's see how we do. We appreciate you guys. Austin, Logan, signing out. See you guys next week. Peace.